like to call the meeting to order, please. I wanted to get started because we have a lot going on this afternoon. I want to welcome everybody to class number 6 of the Bluegrass Adventure by the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association and Vassar LOI, and we're very grateful that everybody's here today, and we're looking forward to a really good class session. The first thing we're going to start off with is we've covered all the instruments in the Bluegrass band except the bass fiddle, and we are going to remedy that at the very beginning of class. And we are extremely fortunate to have with us today David Gandin, who's going to talk about the bass fiddle and demonstrate that. And Dave's going to have some help on that, Dick Bowden on the banjo. Dick is going to show how the banjo and the bass can play well together. And I wanted to let you know that after that we're doing a concert where we put everything together with the other instrument that we really haven't talked about, which is the human voice. You're going to hear some singing, some harmony. And how the instruments all play together with the voices and make the thing we call bluegrass music. This is all being recorded. It will be on the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association website as soon as Fred Robbins, our wonderful videographer, who has just been doing outstanding work for us and for others for many years in bluegrass music, can get it put together for us. Lynn, anything else?
No, I just want to get to see.
All righty, with that I'll turn it over to David Gandin, who will tell us all about the bass fiddle.
Thank you, Andy, for that generous introduction. I'm David Gandin, and I'm here to present bluegrass bass for all of you. And I'm sure the other players did fine jobs representing their instruments and probably knew a lot more about their instruments than I know about mine, and so I'll apologize in advance. It's not that big a crowd, so I don't have any planned remarks, so if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out, or, yes, sir.
Do you get calluses on your fingers?
I do get calluses, and I have to admit, I've been a little remiss, and working up for today, I started playing earlier in the week, and I started to get a blister, which is a sign that I'm out of shape, because the bass is probably the most physical of the instruments. There's a physicality to it just based on its size. It takes a lot of, more physical effort to get a big sound. And if you don't, I have kids and I bought them a bass, and I guess I can get right into it. But you take the bass, and let me give you the big disclaimer here. I'm not a professional bass player. Different styles of music call for different things, and there's a lot of roots style musics, whether it's blues, bluegrass, cultural musics, and the bass plays its role. It's got the lowest register. It fills out the bottom end, right? The low E, these low notes, and it really brings a presence to the music, and it has a timekeeping function as much as it has a tonal function, and so to be good at a lot of bass, it's not to be a fancy player who can play a lot of notes. The joke is, your guy does so much on the notes, oh, you're really good. You need to get yourself a bass player, because it's really to keep the time and to fill that register, the lower sonic register. So in bluegrass, as in other styles of music, if you know the music and have a feel for the music, you're going to be able to keep time appropriate to each song, and that's what's going to make you a better player. It's not having crazy chops or anything like that. So to answer your question, if you hit the bass wrong, classical music, they use a bow. I'm sure you've all seen that. They get a beautiful tone, and they play beautiful, solid instruments. And you run it like the violin. You run the bow, you get sustain. They call this pizzicato. That's the fancy word when you're playing it with your finger. And to do that and get a good tone, if you use your fingertips like this, you'll rip up your fingertips in a minute. Some strings are more forgiving than others. So you have to use the side of your finger. You want to get as much surface area as you can. You can hear the difference in tone. If I go like that, right, it's a little chintzy tone. If I go versus, so you want to get a big fat sound. You want to be a big fat pad for all the other instruments to land on, to get a nice, this is where the beat is, this is the bottom of the chord, and you're laying that out for everybody. Now that you've derailed my unplanned program, I have to come up with something else to say. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, sir, you in the back with the bass weigh. The bass weighs more than a duck. That's all I can tell you. So they're actually not that heavy. You know, I did go on, the internet, where we learn everything nowadays, and
Scale on there too.
yeah, and I guess they came out 1600s. There's a debate among, I don't know, music scholars whether it came from the violin family or the viol family, V-I-O-L, which I don't even know what that is. Apparently, its guts on the inside are just like a violin. However, violin, you have violin, viola, cello. Those are the other orchestral instruments that basically look like miniature versions of this. Except those have, I think, a little bit wider hip. The hips come out, where this is more of a slope shoulder. That's apparently very significant if you're studying the history of the bass as to its origins. I don't know. I want to thank Lynn Lepton for letting me use her bass. There are different kinds of bass strings, and they affect the tone of the instrument. It used to be they all used gut strings. That's all they had, which was intestine from a sheep. I like gut strings. They give a very rich tone. However, I recently had the unfortunate experience of buying, and they're very expensive. I bought a G string. It was $75. I can say this. I'm not going to say from home, but that's the going rate. And I went down to my basement, and it had broken in two right in the middle, the day after I got it. So I said, I was upset. Called up the person who sold it to me, and he said, no, that shouldn't have happened. You wrap it up and send it back here, and I'll send you another one. So I said, thank you much. I did that, and this was 2 weeks ago. I got the new one, strung it up, all ready to get ready for today. Put it on the bass, and a day later I went down and it snapped again. And I said, this is just too coincidental. And expensive. So I started looking around my basement because I found a little piece of the top part broken off, and that was odd to me. So I lifted up my bass case, and I found two other pieces of the string this big that had been gnawed at the end. So apparently my cats are not doing their job, and I have mice in the basement that are causing me an expensive string problem. So at the last minute, Lynn was gracious enough to let me use her bass. So those are gut strings. Then, I think about the 50s, I don't know, they came out with steel strings, which are a lot more stable in terms of they're not as affected by humidity. And I think at the time, there was a huge switch. Almost everybody switched to steel strings. Now people are reverting back. And these are nylon strings, so they almost have the softness of gut. They're easier on your finger, but no offense, Lynn, they don't quite have the quality of tone as a gut string. But they don't they cost a fraction of them. And they're certainly fun. This is a beautiful instrument, so thank you, Lynn. Yes, sir.
Maybe 20 years ago, I started seeing some basses with an extension on the top.
Yes.
Is that a fifth string, or is just an extension of one of the four?
Well, probably what you saw was an extension, but they do make 5-string basses. I think they 6-string basses. There's always people who are taking music to a new place and they want all those notes. But there's a thing that's more common where you can get this down to a low C, and there's a little. I've never really actually seen a bass, actually held a bass with one, but I know it has it's almost like a capo, and you can undo it. So this is a low E, but if you want to go down E, D, and then to C, so you're going to get those lower notes. And I'm not qualified to say what types of music. I imagine jazz guys are the ones who primarily do that. So that's probably what you saw. I guess it's a different kind of peg box and different design.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Just cut me off. Get the
No,
hook.
okay, Dave.
Pull me. I don't want to. I know you'd rather hear the
I
music.
left my hook home today.
Well, that's a bad day to do that. All right. So the bass in this country, classical music, it's been there throughout, right? But I think it started in sort of popular or non-classical music. You had a tuba running the low end in a lot of marching bands, particularly in New Orleans, things like that. They filled sort of the same register, and they would do marches. But when that started moving inside, and with the advent of jazz, I think a lot of people converted to these upright basses. In country music, the roots of country music in this country, I think, were, not in the wealthy enclaves of the city. And I don't think there were a lot of upright basses running around the hills of, Tennessee or wherever it was. You find some old-time bands using cellos in that function, if you listen, and then they have the cello, which is not quite as low, and it's a great sound, beautiful instrument. But I think around the 30s, bass became more common in the country context, and the professionals, and once the advent of the recording industry in Nashville, you had the bass coming in because it really fills out the sound. And you had quite a few talented bassists. I mean, bluegrass comes out of country music. I'm sure Andy and Dick, these guys know way more about bluegrass than I do. But, to me, it's a form of country music. And in the beginning, country and jazz were, there were a lot of bands that did a lot of hybrid. And so you had really talented upright bass players. You had the swing tradition and the big bands, and these guys were walking all over the place. Duke Ellington and all those bands. And some of those guys got into the country scene, and they were just technically tremendous bass players. They could swing. And then when the advent of the recording industry in country, it kind of fell back into a two-beat, which is just and there's nothing wrong with that. It's probably the best thing to play in 90% of the circumstances. It sounds great, it works great, and there was a handful of studio bassists in Nashville in the 50s, called them the A-Team, and these guys are really my heroes. You had guys like Junior Husky and Joe Zinkin and Bob Moore, Lightning Chance, and these guys were tremendous bass players, and they figured out what, Owen Bradley, the recording, guys running the studios told them what to play, and they could play it. They could play anything, and they actually recorded on a lot of the early bluegrass albums from the 50s. They used Nashville studio bassists. I don't know how much you heard about the different players, but you listen to Flatt and Scruggs, Jimmy Martin, a lot of those recordings, it wasn't always their road bassist. They had some of the studio guys in there. And then a guy in the 50s, I guess this is more about country, Ray Price, he got credit with it, I don't know, but I think that was, he started a walking bass in country music, which was like, instead of going, right, it was like, oh, we can go. And that was kind of almost back to what they used to be doing. And in early bluegrass, there was a lot of walking bass. I mean, look, different people see it differently, but if you listen to the old recordings, there was a much different approach to bluegrass than there is today. And the bass is walking on a lot of it, and it gives it a lift, and the guitar style was a lot of thumb pick, and it had a real swing to it. I really like that sound. Today, things have kind of gone the other direction. It's pretty much a hard two-beat, and you get in the jam with the wrong people, and you start walking, they look at you. I mean, they kind of like it, but they give you a dirty look, and they're not sure if they should like it. They want to like it, they like it, but they think, oh, they're not supposed to do this, and I don't get out much, but I've certainly had that experience. So that's what I can tell you about the bass. If there's not any questions, I was going to do a little demonstration, and then we'll get to the whole band. Anybody? All right, while I invite my good old friend Dick Bowden up here, and before I introduce him, I just want to warn you, don't get excited. He's from Maine, so if there's anything quirky about him, we can attribute it to, down East Maine, and not a lot to do in his youth. No, he got out in the world, he saw those trees, he saw a future in paper, and it's taken him at least as far as Fishkill. I don't know if they're going any further, but he now makes his home at Big Indian, and he's really a great guy. And while he's coming up here, I'll tell you my theory of bass solos in a joke while Dick's coming up. And I probably shouldn't use this form for humor, but I will. I'll walk slow. It's a little bit of a long joke. So you have an anthropologist who's studying remote cultures, and he's on a trip to the South Pacific. And he gets off his travel ship onto a local canoe, and they bring him to this small island. And he hears this drumming. And he's like, oh, thinks that's interesting. He's very quiet. He doesn't want to offend the local culture. And his guide, who's bringing him in by canoe, says, drumming stopped, very bad. He doesn't say anything. He says, oh, that's odd. Gets to the beach, and there's a welcoming committee, and the drumming's louder. And one of the head of the welcoming committee says, yes, drumming stopped. Very bad. He still doesn't say anything. He doesn't want to offend anybody. Finally gets into the small village. The drumming's loud at this point. The village chief comes out. Says, yes, drumming stopped. Very bad. At this point, he can't help himself. He says, what happens when the drumming stops? And the chief says, drum solo stop, then bass solo. That's not the way I heard it.
big hand for Dave Gandin, all right?
So Flat and Scruggs, I don't know, they were early bluegrass band, really best of the best in a lot of ways. And they had this guy, Jake Tulloch, who played bass with them, who in my mind was a great bass player. Didn't do a lot of fancy things during the songs, but every now and then, he was a great singer too. They'd showcase him on a few bits, and this is a number that he did that I think has become popular as a slap bass thing, and we're going to try to recreate that sound.
Okay,
Okay, so
which part do you want me to play?
the banjo.
All right, okay. Now you're just gonna, I don't want you to freak me out now. You're gonna just go boom, 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 boom while I'm playing.
Best I can.
Then you get hot when you play. Okay.
We'll see. Unrehearsed, but yeah.
Yeah, we've all been playing this for 25 years. The song is called Little Darling Pal of Mine.
Now we're going to do one more. I'm going to ask Dave Chernack to come up here. I don't even know if he realizes he's part of this program. He will now. And this is another one I was messing around with. This is a banjo, Ralph Stanley banjo tune, and we're going to try to do a little version where I do a little bass thing on it. Just do that same format.
One thing Dave mentioned earlier, how the first bass fiddles got into country music in the 1930s. I really liked everything he said. A friend of mine in Nashville told me, one of the oldest bass players in town told him that bass fiddles came to Nashville country music from the steamboats. They always had a band on the steamboat, entertain the passengers at all, and they would have a bass fiddle just ride on the steamboat, you know. You didn't need to put it on a car or anything. And some of those steamboat bands got to Nashville and found out, you know, there's a growing music movement here, and just left the steamboat band and brought their bass fiddle and started playing in the hillbilly and country music in Nashville. And that's why some of the first bass players were incredibly good, because they'd been making a living in a steamboat band. This is a banjo song, but I permit the bass to take a break on this. It's called Clinch Mountain Backstep.
portion of the program.
All right, turn around, guys. So now we're going to put it all together. Instruments, voices, bass fiddles, the whole schmear. We'd like to start off with a song by the father of bluegrass music, Bill Monroe, which is called True Life Blues. 1, 2, 3.
The next one we're going to do, I played some of this at the beginning of my banjo course, and Bluegrass Unlimited magazine, which has been published for almost 60 years, 70 years now, they just took a poll this winter of all their readership and asked them, among other things, what is your favorite all-time bluegrass record? This song won the poll. This is among bluegrass fans. It's the theme song from Bonnie and Clyde, the movie Bonnie and Clyde. It's won a Grammy 2 or 3 times way back in the country music field before there even was a bluegrass Grammy, but it won some country instrumental Grammys. And it's called Foggy Mountain Breakdown. We love to play this, don't we? 1, 2, 3, 4.
nice job with the Dobro presentation a few weeks ago. Couldn't be here this afternoon, so I'm filling in on Dobro for this, and we're very lucky to have Pete Conklin playing the mandolin here.
Yeah. So this is a song by the Carter family, which was sort of came about before bluegrass, but in a lot of ways was a big precursor, especially in the guitar, guitar world. A lot of sort of this alternate side, bum, 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 doing a lot of what the bass does with the guitar in the rhythm. Yeah, and a lot of their songs, dating back 100 years, they were sort of big in the 20s and the dawn of recording music, and, continued to be big through the 40s and 50s when bluegrass was sort of formalized into bluegrass. So this is one of their songs called Keep on the Sunny Side of Life. 1, 2, 3.
A little closer together. Oh, yeah. So,
Now, Bill Monroe, who you all heard about, is codifying bluegrass music. In his mind, he absolutely invented it. But he said in the old days, the bluegrass boys used to play for lots of dances. Well, to Bill Monroe, that was dance music. It was not two-stepping or foxtrot. It was square dancing or flat-footing or clogging. So he would often say, well, we played for dances, and we had to play a variety of, speeds and beats and all that. But in his mind, a dance took place in a barn. And a tune like that, he called that's old-time fiddling there, and the people would really get up and dance to that. So that's a big part of the origin of bluegrass. And now it's time to sing, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna sing one.
It's the one he
Yeah, this is One Raindrop.
1, 2, 3.
Now you have heard it read about the state of Tennessee. Down in that southern state is where I long to be. Where the valleys are so green and the mountains are so tall. You know just what I mean when you hear them say you belong. Tennessee, Tennessee, I hear you calling. I hear you calling me. The home of Davy Crockett in the hills of Tennessee. Now when I was a little boy around folks back home, my mom always said to me, please don't roam. Now I have strayed away and the heart is full of woe. Where I think of mom and dad, that's where I want to go. To Tennessee, Tennessee, I hear you calling. I hear you calling me. The home of Davy Crockett in the hills of Tennessee. If I ever get back to the state of Tennessee, I'll know there'll be no more roaming for me. Here lives a sweetheart who said she'll marry me. If ever I get back to the state of Tennessee, 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 I hear you calling. I hear you calling me. The home of Dave Crockett in the hills of Tennessee. Tennessee, Tennessee, I hear you calling. I hear you calling me. The home of Davy Crockett in the hills of Tennessee.
We're gonna stick with the geographical, with the
Yeah.
map.
Wait, I think we got it.
Okay.
This is probably the most, well, I guess outside of Foggy Mountain Breakdown, the most famous bluegrass song that we're gonna do.
This is a very big crossover too.
Yeah, with Rocky Top by the Osborne Brothers.
I mean, I think this was one of the first bluegrass tunes to make it onto the country charts, wasn't it? Yeah.
One of the state songs in Tennessee called Rocky Top. 1, 2, 3.
Wish that I was on Rocky Top down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no fun to go on Rocky Top, ain't no telephone bills. Once I had a girl on Rocky Top, had a yellow cat.
That was fun. Yeah. That was great.
All right, I think we're done. We're done rehearsing now.
about Uncle Pen in your talk last week.
I did.
Yeah. So this is the song that Bill Monroe wrote about Uncle Pen, who was a fiddle player who sort of influenced Bill's journey through bluegrass, and this is one of my favorite Bill Monroe songs, at least.
I'm not sure I remember how to play it, but it goes something like this.
Fiddle or how it ring, you can hear it talk, you can hear it sing. Well, he put a little piece called Soldier's Joy, and the one he called Foster Boy was the greatest of all. Genuinely, I think that's where it'll begin. How it ring, you can hear it talk, you can hear it sing. Then that mournful day when Uncle Pen was called away, he hung up his fiddle and he hung up his bow. You know it was time for him to go. How it ring, you can hear it talk, you can hear it sing. This was Bill Monroe's first big selling record in 1945, before Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs joined in, and before it turned into what we all call bluegrass. Bill Monroe called it bluegrass, but nobody else did at that time. But he invented it, he can call it what he likes. But he made a lot of money off this song and spent it all, and didn't have any money until Elvis Presley put it on the other side of his very first record. And of course that record sold, and Bill got a big royalty check from the mailbox for that. So he was a big fan of Elvis Presley. So we'll do the first half of the song just the way the 1945 record went. Nice and slow and a pretty waltz to you can all get up and waltz. No waltzing backwards though. And sing along, and then we'll stop and we'll put it more in like the Elvis Presley gear. Is that all right? And we're in B flat, Mr. Bassman, all right? Blue Moon of Kentucky. Yep. Blue moon of
and they whispered from on high, your love has said goodbye. Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and said goodbye. I said, blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gonna prove untrue. Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and left the blue. It was on a moonlight night, the stars shining bright, and it whispered from on high, your love said goodbye. Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone, say goodbye. Mighty fine.
Gonna start this without my hat.
No, no.
Play me a great big A chord, Dave. Why'd you go and leave me in Big Mama? You went away and left me alone and so blue. Please come back. Oh, baby, come on back. Come on back, live with me in Big Mama. How come you hurry away from Big Mama? Can't you hear life calling to you? Oh, hey, hey, come on back, life is nothing. Why you go and leave me in Big Mama? You went away and left me alone and so blue. Please come back, oh baby, come on back and live with me, Big Mama. How come you run away from Big Mama? Turn around and tell Papa what you think you do. I know